U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has reiterated Washington's commitment to building the U.S. Africa relations for the sake of global economic growth. The visit comes in the same week as Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov's trip to the continent as geopolitical tensions simmer. Business reporter Ntokozo Khumalo has the details.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is about to conclude her 10-day tour of Africa, with South Africa being her third and final stop. And although most sessions were closed to media, Yellen did highlight that the United States valued its relationship with South Africa and lauded the country for its participation in the Just Energy Transition Partnership. Her comments come as South Africans face yet another interest rate hike, raising questions on whether the continent is moving in the same direction. Analysts argue that African countries are grappling with very different problems.
So let's start off with Senegal. So Senegal is part of the West African Economic and Monetary Community, WAEMU, and those countries have a single currency, the West Africa Central Franc, the CFA. So those countries currently are being or have a peg to the euro, which is guaranteed by the French National Treasury. And so in terms of their monetary policy, the fixed exchange rate regime guaranteed by the French National Treasury has insulated them quite significantly from the imported inflation. However, obviously in the current year and the current monetary policy swing by the European Central Bank will continue to put pressure on the West Africa Central Bank in order for it to continue raising rates, but it is under less pressure given the fact that it has this fixed exchange rate regime with the French National Treasury. However, again, those West African countries are also in a drive to replace the CFA, the West African CFA, with ECHO, which is expected to be launched in 2027. And so their monetary policy and their monetary policy committees are not only just looking at containing inflation currently, but also implementing some of the institutional changes in order to launch the new currency.
On the other hand, South Africa's large current account deficit is a consideration,
which means the country needs to continuously attract foreign capital flows from the financial and capital account. And so when the U.S. Federal Reserve raises interest rates, and the expectation is that globally people will start investing in the U.S. economy because the returns will be greater, South Africa is also forced to then raise its interest rates in order to remain on power, at least attract some of those dollars so that we don't end up with dollars leaving the South African economy, going back to invest in the USA.
On the Just Energy Transition, Wits University's African Center for Study of the United States Research Associate Gideon Chitanga says there are issues that need to be ironed out.
The major missing point in the conversations about energy transitions is that a lot of African countries, they run a huge shortage of electricity. In other words, large populations of Africans do not have energy. Before you even think about a cleaner source of energy, we still have majorities in the rural areas who still rely on firewood and so on, and they do not have access to electricity, not even cleaner energy. The second thing is Africa, including South Africa, remains like the smallest net producers of pollution. I think at around 1%. So, and part of the key debate also is what the trade unions are raising in South Africa to say that the migration from coal, if it's not properly sequenced and targeted, and if the pace does not respond to domestic conditions, then the problem will be that you are closing your sources of electricity and even worsening the situation where more people are going to run into problems. They won't have energy.
Yellen is expected to announce a funding strategy for more African nations to participate in the Just Energy Transition Partnership. For Newzroom Afrika, Channel 405, I'm Ntokozo Khumalo in Pretoria.